Today, the Wynne government unveiled its long-promised hydro rate relief package. Now, it comes with the headline of 25% off hydro prices, but it includes the already implemented 8% HST rebate. Apparently, 17% off hydro prices didn't quite have the same ring. To talk more about this, I am joined from Queen's Park by Premier Kathleen Wynne. Premier, thank you for joining us.
It's a pleasure, Alan. Thank you.
Why go this way? Why decide to move the cost of the system further down the road to a new generation?
So we've done a couple of things, Alan. We are spreading the cost of the investments that we've made over a longer period of time. Right now, people are paying for investments that were necessary in the system, and people are paying for those in higher electricity prices, steeply high electricity prices right now. And what we've said is, you know what, it will be fairer if we can, instead of having those costs paid over 20 years, if we spread it over a 30-year period, because really the people who are paying electricity prices right now are paying for neglect that was in the system and investments that were needed because of that neglect, and that's years. You know, that's all levels, or sorry, all parties of that have formed government have not invested in the system over time, and so people are paying for that, and they're also paying forward for assets that are going to be used for people into the future. So spreading those costs over 30 years rather than 20 years is a fairer way to go. But the other thing we've done, Alan, is we're going to move to take distribution costs down, because there are many people who live in rural communities outside of urban centres who are paying proportionately very high distribution charges that they can't control, and we're going to bring those down as well.
But why not attack the system and change it? Because you didn't go after these energy contracts. You've left them all alone, and your energy minister has admitted that those are too expensive and have had, and I believe in his words, suboptimal outcomes.
Well, we looked at everything, Alan. We really did, and there have been some voices that said, you know, you should just rip up those contracts. We looked at how we could renegotiate or change those contracts. It would cost hundreds of millions of dollars, billions of dollars in the long run. There are hundreds of contracts, and so we determined, Alan, that that was actually going to be more costly to the system. There would be lawsuits, and what we decided was this was a much more fair way of bringing people's costs down. The other thing is, it would take years. It would take years to make those changes in those contracts. So on the cost, on top of the time, what we know is that people need reductions right now. And you know that, Alan. You've been following this. You know that people have talked to you for months. The 8% reduction that we put in place in January is not enough. They need more. People need to see greater reductions in their electricity bills, and so that's why we're taking this course.
Now, Premier, you like to refer sometimes to your family and your grandchildren, especially when you talk about green energy programs, cap and trade, and leaving the planet a better place, for example. I'm wondering how you explain to those same grandchildren about the bill you're going to hand them for the energy system.
Well, what I would say to them is that right now their mom and dad are having to pay a lot more for electricity, which means that they can't do other things, you know. So I would say to any kids my grandkids' age, they're 7 and 5 and 3 right now, and I would say to them, you know, we want your mom and dad to be able to make sure you've got money for field trips and be able to take you places and be able to buy food for you and make sure that you have childcare. We want them to we want your parents to be able to pay for those things, and so we're going to take their electricity prices down right now. That means that when you're their age, when you're a little bit older, you're going to have to pay some of that cost as well. But everybody will pay for assets that we will all use.
Premier, thank you so much for your time.
Thanks very much, Alan.